Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of the FCI podcast. The FCI is a global organization with 99 members spread across the entire world, all the way from South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and all the way to Oceania, Australia, and New Zealand. So to make things easier, the FCI is actually divided into three distinct geographical locations. And these three locations form what they call sections within the FCI. So the European section comprises of all the European countries and member countries grouped together. The Asia, Africa, and Oceania section consists of the Asian, African, and Oceania members together. And lastly, we have the Americas and Caribbean section, which comprises of all the South American FCI members. 99 members split into full members and also contract partners, distinctly split into these three sections for ease of organization and communications. And in this episode, I talked to the three section presidents to understand better why the FCI is divided geographically into these sections, yet remaining one global organization. Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to the FCI podcast channel. In this series, what I'm aiming to do is to give everyone within the FCI and outside of the FCI an insight into the FCI, how the FCI works, different aspects that make this global organization so interesting, and but unfortunately not well understood. So the aim of this series is to put some light on those questions that you've had, and this series focuses on the FCI section presidents, and today I have the honor of having a brief chat with the FCI European section president, Mr. Jürgen Hinze. Hi, Jürgen, how are you? Good to have you.
Hello, Gobi, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Better seeing you. So let's jump straight in and get to the question. As I said, it's just to bring some clarity to things about the FCI. So could you tell us what the function of a section is in the FCI, and what was the need for the formation of sections within the FCI?
Yes, I can do it briefly.
Sure.
The European section started in the end of the 70s.
Okay.
And in the beginning, the first 25 years, there was only a president. There was no general committee. There was only one person. And
Right.
the first 15, 16 years, it was a French guy called Camille Michel who was the president.
Okay.
And he was in 1989, followed by Uwe Fischer from Germany.
Okay.
And the meaning about creating a section was that countries with more or less common interest in a certain area should have the possibility to come together and discuss common problems at least once a year. That was the meaning behind it.
Okay, and when they formed the European section in the 70s, I'm assuming it was the first section, because I mean, when the FCI started, it was started by a group of European kennel clubs, and then of course the membership grew. But was the European section the first section that was ever formed?
Yes, it was. And after some years came also the Asian section and the Caribbean and South American section too, but it was some years later.
Okay, and how long have you been the section president?
I have been president since 1991. It's 30 years this year.
Wow. And you're also the president of your National Kennel Club.
Yes, I'm the president of the Danish Kennel Club, and I've been that since 1977. That means I've been it for 44 years.
Okay, and that's a very long time in service to dogs. Yes. Wow. Okay. I think you deserve a medal. And can you tell us a little bit about how someone becomes a section president? What's the process to becoming a section president?
Yes. After we in the 90s established the real board in the European section, we worked out several proposals. And in 1998, the General Assembly finally decided on rules and standing orders for our section. And in year 2000, we elected our first real general committee, consisting of 5 persons who are elected for a 4-year period. And we are 5 members in the general committee, elected 3 are on election in every second year, and the other 2 the other year.
Okay, and all these representatives are all European Kennel Club representatives. So they're the ones that get elected to this European section board. Is that correct? They are all part of.
They are all representing one of our member kennel clubs. It is
Okay.
not all. It is not all presidents of kennel clubs who are forming the general committee. It
Okay.
could also be a member of a kennel club. Everybody who are a member of a kennel club can run for election in the general committee of the European section.
Okay, and this process, is it a standardized thing across all the sections of the election of a president, and then you have a board within the section? That's a standard process across the FCI?
No, it's not. No, it's not. We do not have the same rules in all three sections, but more or less they are the same. The principles about elections are the same.
Okay. So there is some standardization, but
Yes.
the details might be different for each section.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
How often is that normally the elections take place? You said every 2 years or 4 years?
Yes, every 2 years. Every 2 years.
Every 2 years. Okay, so then they elect you. And how many members are there in the European section?
We are at the time 50 members of the European section.
Well, that is the largest section in the FCI, right?
Yeah, by far the largest. We are larger than the other two together. And we have also all members of the European unions are members of the European section.
Okay.
So that means that we have it in our board in the European section. We have very close connection to the European Parliament and to the European Commission, because a lot of legislation in Europe are made in the European Parliament and in the Commission. So it's very important for us to follow it and to work up to the Commission. And we also have a lobbying company in Brussels who are following all legislation about dogs, about animal welfare legislation, about transport over borders, and a lot of these things. So I am at least twice a year in the European Parliament or in the Commission.
Okay, and you mentioned the board members. How often does the board meet, and how do they support you in the role of president?
We have regular physical board meetings twice a year when we don't have Corona, of course. And we have also Zoom meetings, as we have a Zoom now. We have also Zoom meetings, and this year we have already had three Zoom meetings. In the board. It's a very easy way to make short meetings and take decisions on.
Yes, and as a section, obviously in non-Corona times, how often would you all meet? Once a year? Is that
two? We meet twice. Plus, we meet in our General Assembly. We have a General Assembly every year.
Okay.
And every second year we have election, but every year we have to nominate a country for organizing the European Dog Show.
Okay.
So we have a General Assembly every year.
Okay. And is it a challenge? I mean, you're running 50 countries. Is it a challenge to run such a large section as well as your own kennel club, or having done it for so many years, it's second nature for you?
I can say I'm getting used to it. I've done it for so many years. Of course, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to keep the contact. And we also send out newsletters from our section every quarter of the year.
Wow, okay.
About information about what we are doing, about European legislation, about important stuff our members need to know. So to keep our members updated, it is a big part of the job.
Excellent. And what other roles do you play as a section president besides doing all this, going to the European Parliament? What are the other things that you are involved with to keep the section running, so to speak?
Of course, coordinate the work in the General Committee of the European section. And also, and it's also an important part of it, to take part in the FCI General Committee. We are organized that way that the section president are automatically members of the FCI General Committee. So I have my own kennel club, I have a European kennel club, the European section, but also, and it is a great part of the job to take part in the discussions and in the work of the FCI. And it is a lot, it is a job. It's really the biggest part of it.
Excellent. Well, you surely must enjoy it, have done it for this many years and survived. So I guess there must be some enjoyment there.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, you're passionate about it. And
if I couldn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it, because we do it for nothing. We don't get paid for it.
Absolutely. And just for the viewers who are not so familiar, the FCI General Committee is actually the board of directors. So all the section presidents are automatically, they don't have to be elected at the General Assembly, but they are automatically, once they're elected as section president, they have a position of a board of directors. So they sit and represent the things. And
yes, that's right. But that's not all, because that's not all. We are automatically members of the FCI board of directors, the General Committee, but we need to also be approved by the FCI General Assembly, because that's the Belgian law who demands that. But see. It's only a technical thing. It is
okay.
It's only a formality.
Okay. And has this process, once they instituted this thing about section presidents, has that been an automatic then position to the board prior? I mean, like there's always been practice in the FCI?
No. It started in the beginning of the 90s.
Wow, okay.
When all three sections were very well established, then we changed our statute, so the sections had a seat in the General Committee.
Okay, so before that,
it is very good. No, before that, every members of the General Committee of the FCI were elected in the FCI General Assembly.
Okay, how interesting. Wow, okay, excellent. And sorry, I cut you off there, but what would you say is the greatest strength of the European section in the FCI?
That we are so many, and we have all the biggest country, except we have all the biggest countries are our members.
Excellent.
Okay. From Russia to all the 27 European Union countries, and also to all the smaller Eastern countries who are not yet members of the EU. We are big and we are strong also financially. And of course, because we have so many big CACIP shows, and that the CACIP shows who are financing the FCI, the European section are financing around 80% of the budget of the FCI.
Wonderful! Wow. Okay. Excellent. And
all the incomes comes from a fee on dogs participating in CACIP shows, and that's what is running the FCI. And most of the big CACIP shows are running in Europe. That's why we are financing so much of it.
And I'm assuming
it's a fair way to do it.
Yeah, and I'm assuming other things like the trials, the hunting trials, all that is more common in Europe rather than the other sections of the FCI.
Oh, yeah. Yes, but in numbers, the participant in numbers in trials are by far not so big as they are in the shows.
Okay, excellent. Okay, anything else you'd like to add? Otherwise, I think we've done fantastically with getting a brief understanding of how sections work and how the European section is.
I would just like to add that finally, it seems like we are over the COVID-19 situation in Europe, because it has hit us so hard as it has in the rest of the world.
Yes.
But now we can organize big events again. This weekend, there was World Championship in Mondiorang in Romania, organized by the Romanian Kennel Club. And 2 weeks ago, or 1.5 weeks ago, we had the World Dog Show in Brno in Czechia, with more than 12,000 entries. Beautiful, excellent, well-organized show. And we will see many, many more of them. And if I see on my own countries, 4 weeks from now, we have a show in Herning, where the World Dog Show 2010 took place, where we have 12,000 entries. I just got the figure today. Yeah.
Wow, 12,000. That's almost
12,000 entries. And the entry date is not closed yet, so we expect another 1,000.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, that is the best news. I mean, that things are going back to normal and
exactly
coming again. And I really wish you well, both with your show coming up and with the European section. Thank you so much for your time, Jürgen. And I hope you've had as much fun as I've had on this brief interview.
For sure I had. Thank you for calling.
Okay, thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. This is part 2 of this episode, where I continue interviewing the FCI section presidents. And now I have the honor and pleasure of interviewing Dinky Santos, who is the president of the FCI Asia, Africa, and Oceania section. Hi, Dinky. Welcome to the interview.
Hi, Gopi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Still struggling here.
Yeah, same here, man. Same here. Anyway, I'm going to jump straight in, Dinky. Africa, Asia, and Oceania. So Asia, Africa, and Oceania section, A20. Can you tell us what that's about? I mean, like it's called, I know it's called the A20. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's Asia, Australia, New Zealand,
Yeah.
and now we have Africa. We used to be a very small section, and now we're getting bigger because Africa joined us,
Right.
and now we have Africa, we have Morocco, Egypt, and all the Algeria, and so for the future African countries that will join the FCI.
Okay. So I mean, that was one of my questions actually, was why Africa is under Africa and Asia pretty far. So the purpose being that because there are fewer countries in Africa, they've joined the Asian section because unlike say Europe, which is already about 50 members, the Asian section is not that big. So it's more manageable for you as the president. Is that correct?
No, well, they also were asked to vote.
Okay.
And I think Egypt and South Africa voted to join Asia.
Okay.
Because Europe is just too big. I mean, they have 30-something countries.
Yeah.
And in Asia, we have fewer countries.
Okay.
And also we're friendlier. I mean, we're a friendly section, and Asians are basically very friendly.
Okay.
So they all join us.
Okay, so how many members are there in the Asian section?
We have 27 members.
Well,
27 members.
All now, yeah, 27. Okay.
Well, 27 now.
Okay.
14 are voting members.
Okay.
We have 5 associate members.
Okay.
And 8 contract partners.
Okay.
So eventually, the 14 voting members will go up because I think Egypt is going to become a voting member soon.
Okay.
And some other countries. So we're getting bigger. And also, we have a lot of countries in Asia and Africa who want to join the FCI. So if they meet the minimum requirements, then they can join the FCI. We get bigger.
Right. Okay. And I mean, fastest growing section, the A20 section is the fastest growing section. Is that?
Well, I'd put it this way. We have room for growth. Okay. We have a lot of untapped countries.
Okay.
Who want to join the FCI, who have still not joined the FCI, both in Asia and in Africa.
Okay.
So, I mean, we've only tapped a few countries in both continents.
Okay.
So once the other countries start to wake up and start to join, we may become as big as Europe.
Okay. Do you think eventually there'll be a separation where Africa will have their own section once they get large enough to fulfill the...
Well, you need a certain number, okay? You need a certain number of dogs registered per year to become a section. Okay. So maybe not in the next 10 years.
Okay.
So in the next 10 years, we're still seeing the same setup.
Right. And the Asian section, I understand, was the second section actually to be formed in the FCI. Who were the initial members of this section? Of the Asian?
Well, Japan led the section for a long time, and okay. We have the Philippines, Malaysia, Korea, Taiwan. There were about 5 to 6 countries only, okay. And Japan was leading it. But now we've grown so much.
Okay, so that's good. And how long have you been the president of the FCI A20 section?
I've been the president since 2013, so that's 8 years already. So fast.
Okay.
Yeah. It seems like yesterday. Yeah.
And you're also the president of your national kennel organization, the PCCI. How do you find a balance to do both, of lead the section and your country?
Well, it's 2 different things. Okay. Basically, your day-to-day will be the NCO, or the Philippine Kennel Club, and once in a while you have issues within the section, and you deal with the section problems or the section to guide the section through. It works hand in hand, because it just works hand in hand. Okay,
and can you tell us a little bit about what your role is as president on the FCI board, on the main board? What importance or what role does that play in you sitting on the board? as the section?
Well, as I tell everyone in the section that I'm the representative of, I'm your representative to the board.
Okay.
I'm not a leader or anything. I'm not the boss. I'm basically representing you. So if there are any problems, any issues, anything you want to bring up, I can bring it up to the board. At the same time, we have someone in the board for Asia, Africa, and Oceania who sits on the board. So it's easier to basically to your irks, your problems, your what you want to push, what you want to promote. You can easily tell me, and I can push it onto the board. It's easier because I'm your face in the board.
Okay, so you're the link basically from your section to the
Yes,
board,
yes.
and you're representing the needs and things like that of your section to the main FCI board. Yeah, would that be
You
correct?
got the word correct. I'm the link.
Okay.
So basically, anything that they need, it's through me, and I can present it to the board.
Okay. Being so far away from Europe, how does the FCI HQ, in Belgium, how do they support you? How does the office there support the sections?
Well, basically now that we're so close to each other because of the internet, there's nothing far and near and far anymore.
Yeah.
Because of the internet, we can communicate. It's like we're all next door neighbors.
Yes.
So basically, it's very easy. And well, the FCI is the one that they plan everything out. They have the requirements. They have the rules, and basically we follow them.
Okay.
So basically, FCI has board meetings every so often, the board, and we make the rules and the guidelines. So basically, I tell the countries, or the FCI tells the countries how these new guidelines and basically what to follow.
Okay, and so essentially, the FCI doesn't govern the national canine organizations. It's more of they help you to understand the guidelines and the regulations that the FCI has for various issues with concerned shows or breeding of dogs and welfare and all those issues. Would that be an accurate description of this sort of?
Yes, basically the NCOs or clubs run it the way they run it.
Okay.
But FCI has a set of guidelines which you have to follow.
Okay.
But other than that, you can run it the way you want to run it.
Okay.
Without going over the requirements and the guidelines.
So essentially, the FCI does not control national kennel clubs in terms of how they run their day-to-day operations and things like that.
No, they don't. They leave it up to you as to how you want to run it.
Excellent. How important in this day and age is unity in the dog world, and especially in Asia, which, as you mentioned, has got many new countries evolving and coming through into the world of pedigree dogs. How important is unity as you see it?
Of course, it's very important because I mean, before I took over, Asia was not united, and they just didn't have any direction. Each country would go its own way. But now, ever since I took over, we've been united. We talk, we plan together. So basically, we move in the same direction. And the same with Africa, for example. They now talk to us and ask us what to do. And so with Australia and New Zealand, they don't feel that they're not part of us. They feel that they're part of us, and that we guide them through. If they have any questions, we help them, and we have meetings with them. So everything seems to be going the right way.
Okay. And my last question: what would you say are the greatest strengths of the FCI A20 section?
Well, the first thing is that we're united. Okay, I mean, compared to the other sections, we're the most one.
Okay.
We talk a lot. Even if we have Australia, New Zealand, and Africa with us, together with us in Asia. We still talk a lot. We're at peace with each other. We guide each other, which is very, very important.
Okay.
That's it. I mean, what's important is that you all move together. You don't leave anyone behind, and that's what we have in Asia. We don't leave anyone behind. We all move together.
Excellent. So a united, friendly section that's moving in one direction.
Definitely. We are proud to be united. Asians are different. Asians are they're very quiet people. They don't really attack one another. So, I mean, we as a section are basically very, very friendly. We're very united, and it's a very, very, as of today, it's a very, very nice section, a very peaceful section, and a very progressive section.
Excellent. Thank you, Dinky. Any other parting words before I thank you and end this brief interview?
Well, our section, Asia, Africa, and Oceania section, is a section that will become a really strong section. It's going to become a big section. In a few years, we have more members join us. We have more members from Asia and Africa who want to join us. Hopefully, they meet the minimum requirements and they can join our section. And I see that in 10 years, we will be a very big section and a very strong section. And I still hope that we stay united so that we can move forward together.
Excellent. And I personally just want to make mention, when we say Africa as well, I must make mention that there seems to be a large number of kennel clubs coming up in the Middle East who are joining the FCI and the section. And that's very encouraging as well, to see passionate pedigree dog people in that part of the world coming on board as well. Okay, Dinky, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for shedding some light on how sections operate and your role in the FCI Asia, Africa, and Oceania section. Thank you for your time. Take care and catch you soon.
Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the last segment of this episode, where I get the opportunity to talk to the FCI section presidents. And in this episode, in this part, I have the honor and privilege to speak to Dr. Jose Luis Pairo from Mexico, who is the president of the FCI Americas and Caribbean section. Hola, Dr. Pairo, how are you?
Hello, Guppy, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity of the interview.
It's a pleasure. We want people to understand the FCI better. So let's jump straight in. How long have you been president of this section of the Americas and Caribbean section of the FCI?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that it has been a great honor for me to be part of the FCI board members from the most important dog organization in the world. And of course, representing there in the board, the Americas and Caribbean section. I was elected in 2015, the first time, and I have been president for 6 years now. And also I'm president of the Mexican Kennel Club, of course.
And how long have you been president of the Mexican Kennel Club?
Well, the last time I have been twice in a period, so then 10 years now.
Oh, okay.
From this second part.
Excellent.
There was somebody else longer.
Sure. And how many members are there in the Americas and Caribbean section of the FCI?
Yes, that is very important because we have 20 countries from the whole Central and South America and America, because we are part of America and the United States and that. Yes, we are 20 and we are very happy because now we have again Venezuela who is join us again. Excellent. After all the problems they have in their country, and Cuba also.
Wonderful. And how long has the section been in existence? How long has the American?
Well, it was in 1978.
Wow.
We had in Mexico the World Dog Show, and Mrs. Thelma von Taden was president. And that's when they decided in the FCI to have the sections.
Okay.
And I think it was the second section, probably. I think the European was the first one.
Yes.
And Thelma von Taden was the first president in 1978.
Okay.
Then Dr. Barone Forzano from Brazil was the next president in 1983. And Hermano Maniero from Peru was the third one. Then Miguel Ángel Martínez for many years, 20-something years.
Wow.
And then in 2015, myself.
Okay.
Till now, 6 years.
And who were the initial members of, when the section was formed, who were the initial members of the FCI Americas and Caribbean section?
That is very interesting because when Thelma was president, she was also president of the Mexican Kennel Club.
Okay.
And when she got to be the president of the section, Dr. Barone was present, and several other there was two from Mexico, that Mrs. Premio Real, who was the breeder of Xoloscuincles. She was from Europe,
Right.
European lady, and she, it's incredible. She did a lot of work for the Xoloscuincles in Mexico.
Wow.
All of them were together working for the section.
Right.
And there was a lady that Yolanda Vargas from Colombia,
Okay. Okay.
and some others.
So the initial members were Mexico, Brazil, Colombia. Who were the other members?
I think it was, yes, Carmen Gibson from Ecuador.
Okay.
I remember that. And of course, the lady from Panama.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So these were the initial members. Excellent. And is it a challenge for you to run a section that's so geographically spread out? Because South America and the Caribbean and that part is very spread out, and it's a huge landmass. Is it a challenge to run such a geographically spread out section?
Well, yes, in a way, but listen, not really. Of course, Argentina is too far from here. It's like going to Europe, and the other, Brazil also. But something that it's really incredible. We are very close.
Excellent.
All of us, as we speak the same language, most in every place, only Brazil, Portuguese, but Portuguese is very close to Spanish.
That's
you
right.
can understand perfect. And we have been, it was difficult during the pandemic, the coronavirus. It was really difficult because we couldn't have any dog show, we couldn't have anything. But we did something. In WhatsApp, we got a group. And since then, it's working very excellent, fantastic, because we are close every day. We write each other, we ask everybody what do they think, and they ask us, look, we have a problem with this dog or this breed. We answer everything. We did a lot of interviews to the breeders.
Wow.
So everybody could see it during the pandemic, and many Zoom meetings. It was fantastic. Even Thomas Jackel was the president of the FCA. He was present in some of them.
So actually, the pandemic has been good for the unity and building ties within your section during this time, because you've got together and are trying to solve problems that each of you, same problems you may have in different countries, but it's the same thing.
Yes. Look, when Mrs. Fontaden was president, that she was also a member of the FCI board,
Okay.
and she was very interested in that. She wanted us to be very close in America, very close. They didn't have the WhatsApp,
Right.
but they were very close. So now we still are very, very good friends. Very good. We don't have any problem. We can work together, all of the ones, and we can get together when we have the meetings with the General Assembly at the FCI.
Yeah. And you mentioned the issue that you all speak the same language. Obviously, that's an advantage because, I mean, I know in Brazil they speak Portuguese, but as you've mentioned, it's quite similar. So speaking the same language is also something that's kept you guys together?
Yes, but you know something? Everybody speaks English too. So then there's no problem getting together with interviews or everything. It's really fantastic. I think it's a great honor for me to be this part in my life. That they give me this opportunity to be the president with them, and we discuss about many things. The problems now that we have in the world with the people that fight against the dogs to be not reproduce and all of these problems.
Yeah, all this anti-breeding
everywhere.
Yeah, anti-breeding legislation. Yes, I know it's hit a few of the South American countries quite badly, and also Mexico yourself. So yeah, absolutely. And by the time this episode airs, it'll be almost time for the section show for the Americas, which is this year taking place in Peru. Could you tell us, how does that happen? How do they decide who gets to host the section show?
Oh, yes. Well, as I told you before, we are good friends. We don't fight for that. So we program very well. And we have had, since I remember, in 2016, it was Colombia, 17, Guatemala, 18, Brazil, 19, Mexico. Costa Rica was this year also because of the pandemic. We couldn't have last year. But, it worked perfect because these people did an extraordinary work. And now Peru is going to have it in November. And so, it's really perfect.
Could you tell us a little bit about what you feel your role is as a section president for your members?
Yes, we tried since I started with them. Now we have a website.
Okay.
So we can also produce everything that we have in every country. We have all the details, so the breeders from every country could go into the website and see the next dog shows and the next events that we have in America. That we will have in America also the World Dog Show in Brazil in 22. Yes. So then we are very excited because most of the world shows are in Europe.
Yes.
Because they are big, they have many, many dogs. But we also like to have, in these places in America, Brazil has such a beautiful places.
Yeah.
And I would say Chile has the mountains with the snow and so beautiful places too. I think everywhere is beautiful. Argentina with the organization, and Miguel Angel is also a board member of the FCI. Okay. And I think in Mexico, I have to tell, we had it. I have to tell you, we had the section show in Acapulco. It was very beautiful, and also we had the judges Congress
Yeah,
there. And I was very impressed. We had people coming from Europe, from the United States, from Canada, from all America. It was fantastic. It was really incredible.
My last question, I mean, as president of the section, obviously you're on the FCI board. Do you have any other responsibilities that are given to you as a board member besides looking after your section? Is there anything else that you're assigned to do as a board member?
Yes, I'm happy that you asked me this, because we have now the Committee for Welfare and Health for Dogs Worldwide.
Awesome.
This committee was accepted by the board, and we have people, as you know, from Russia, from Asia, everywhere, 10 people.
I just wanted to say that a lot of people assume that a section president only looks after their section and doesn't have anything else. But whereas the reality is that you are given responsibilities within the board to manage other important things within the FCI, and you have this job of managing this committee for the health and welfare of dogs, which is started, and that's so just to explain to people that you don't just look after your sections, but you also have other roles within the FCI to do, that you are given as a board member. As you know, the whole idea for this podcast is for people to understand the FCI better. And it's been wonderful to speak with you today. I thank you so much for your time. And I hope you've enjoyed this and you've given our listeners a lot to go away with and better understanding of what's happening. So thank you so much, Dr. Pairo. I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man. So thank you once again.
No.
Take care. See you soon.
Thank you, Guppy, for this opportunity, because I can promote the section Americas, and I hope that people from everywhere could go to the World Show in Brazil, especially.
Absolutely.
Don't miss that. Everybody in the world has to be in Brazil when the World Dog Show comes. Thank you very much.
Sao Paulo, December 22. We'll all be there for the World Dog Show in South America. 22. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.